tsunami. So I'm not for these traumatic things either. But I'm not the one that brought them on in the first place, like that bailout of '08. That's like a, tide going the other. It's sucking out real quick. Oh wow, geez, scrambling to survive here, and a lot of people didn't. But the ones that didn't deserve to survive did get to survive. So that's why I do not support the criminal bailout. They bailed out the criminals. These politicals validated what was invalid, what was illegitimate. They validated, they legitimized. Okay, they bailed out the criminals. They know it. They're guilty as the day is long. And these bankster class, the money printing class, all these criminals, I mean, they all should have gone to jail. I'd stick the whole bunch, the whole gaggle, the millions of these people into ethics rehabilitation centers till they say, understand this is wrong. You can't do this to the public at large, which is what they did. They impoverished us by debasing our currency, by allowing this thing to be legitimized, which was absolutely criminal. But understand how this works. So yeah, I'd be in favor of a gradual tide of prosperity. Fine, let's work with JFK. We just do it through currency being worth less. So when I say that, rising wages is not going to solve our social, political, and economic problems, I mean it. Look at the empirical evidence. Look how deliberately remiss the Labor Department has been in giving reasonable, commensurate, proportional cost of living adjustments over the decades. And you tell me all of a sudden we're going to get caught up and you talk about a trauma, a rising tide that's going to come in like a tsunami. If the Labor Department sat down and said, got a press hearing and said, look, we've fallen way behind. We're very sorry. We've been very utterly remiss. We admit there's been people in there that have been deliberately remiss. The leadership within the Labor Department is setting a realistic minimum wage, okay, to keep up with the cost of living that's been manipulated by special interest groups, coming out there to press conference, explain this to the people about currency debasement, how it's happened through the cost of living tax increases, okay, how it's hurt the poor and caused this great wealth imbalance, disparity, okay, and then explain, you think we're ever going to, so now minimum wage, federal minimum wage is $25 an hour, let's say, okay, just to start. And then they said from here on out every year. And so don't blame the workers. They're just trying to stay even Steven. Blame the market manipulators. But we're going to come out every year and we're going to give a commensurate cost of living adjustment to those workers. And the same with Social Security recipients, just so the buying power of the Social Security check is maintained. Absolutely. That's another area. See, I'm blindsided by that. That's a whole nother area, the Social Security buying power 50 years ago as opposed to today. Say, well, they only got $50 minimum 50 years ago. Well, still, if that $50 was worth the equivalent of $2,000 today, which in a lot of cases it is, literally, without being hyperbolic, okay, then you understand, yeah, they've been deliberately remiss at the Social Security Department to give reasonable, realistic, commensurate cost of living adjustments to the Social Security recipients. There's nothing unreasonable about what I'm saying. Do you understand? If you don't give a minimum wage worker a proportional, equivalent, a commensurate cost of living adjustment, if their cost of living went up, then for all intents and purposes, mathematically speaking, have you not just given them a pay decrease? It's the same thing. It is the same thing. You look at it like a scale. Well, the cost of living went up, so my buying power of my dollar went down, and I didn't get anything to balance it out, a cost of living adjustment. So, yeah, your wages went down. If the buying power went up, even if you got a raise, if your cost of living went up faster than you're able to get raises, then you're in the same predicament. So it's just nonsensical. So what's the answer? I mean, look, what was $1 an hour 50 years ago minimum wage, let's say, you can look up the Labor Department statistics for yourself to get the exact figures. It was in that range, maybe a little more than $1 an hour 50 years ago. But by now, okay, that we could be getting paid minimum wage could be 10 cents an hour. Okay, so if anybody thinks that I don't prescribe to a two-way street philosophy, they're wrong. I do. Okay, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I support employers. That's fine. They say, well, I just like it. I love the feeling I get from giving people that sense of security, a job, and all that. I get it. That's fine. Even though I choose not to be one of those people. I don't want to be a boss, a master, an employer. Okay, it complicates my life and all that. So whatever, I'm self-employed. And, as everybody that's self-employed knows, in that case, you've got many masters. So, everybody's serving somebody. That's the way it works. There's always a hierarchy, and it's just, well, so look, the point is that if the 10 cents an hour today in 2018 was worth the equivalent of $2 an hour buying power 50 years ago, who's going to be complaining? It's a two-way street. That's what should have happened. Our need for money should practically be nil now. We would all have so many numbers, amounts of money, plus the worth of those numbers, that money that we had, would be worth so much. That's how we'd all be prosperous. And that's the method to freedom. That's what we're looking for. That's what Trump is trying to do. He understands these basic economic philosophies. JFK did. I don't give a crap if Trump was a Democrat. I would have voted for him. If JFK was a Republican, I like to think that the decent people of America would have voted for him. If JFK was a Republican. I forget what I said there. But listen, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that was enough pontificating, trying to get people to understand basic economic principles so they're empowered. This is how you're going to fight the good fight and be effective. You've got to be able to talk sense into people. You've got to be able to hold your own. And, it's not even a debate. It's not even an argument. What you're doing is you're presenting people the facts. When you know the same stuff I know, that's what it is. You take this guy, Carroll Quigley. I've never read any of his stuff. I was reviewing some of it on Wikipedia recently. But you hear a lot of people that I look up to, they talk about this guy quite a bit. And, I'm not sure if he was a good guy or a bad guy. But he did his job to expose. And this is, even biblically speaking, this is what you're doing in fighting the good fight. You're exposing the evildoers. And you've got to, really differentiate between exposing them and condemning them, judging them to the degree of condemnation. Because then you're doing the wrong thing. So it's always with a spirit of love. There's Jesus coming and excoriating people and blasting and railing on people. We're not Jesus Christ, so we've got to use more tact. Okay, we have biological dads that were sinners just like us, so we've got to use great tact. Go into this thing with a lot of humility, humbleness of heart when it comes to reaching your enemy. And that's why I don't like to use people's names ad hominem. I prescribe to the scriptures, and I prescribe to this idea that, look, when a man's ways please the Lord, that he causes even his enemies to live at peace with him. And this is what I would like. I don't want anybody out to get me. I don't want to worry. I don't want to look over my shoulder. You know what? Live and let live. I want the best for everybody. I'm not a taker. I'm not that kind of a socialist. I'm the kind, if I'm a socialist at all, it's just insane. I believe in good capitalist, sound economic policies that allow wealth for everybody. That's it, man. And and if I had my way, yes, from birth, man, that's your reality. You get shares, stakes, stocks in this planet's wealth. And that includes all the accumulated wealth. Okay? This whole idea that we got to pay for tolls and for parking, and government housing, we got to fork out $50 billion a year. Just, we're renting. It's like, folks, do you understand the concept of ownership? We should own our own stuff like we should own our own money. We're renting it by paying interest to the Federal Reserve. We should own our own nation, own our own treasury, own the whole thing, and we can make progress. God is behind us. He's rooting for us. He's cheerleading for us to get it and to stop it. Look through God's eyes. He's not threatened. He wants us to look through his eyes, see things from his point of view. And when you do, you'll be astounded. You'll be traumatized. You'll say, oh my God, we are such a screwed up species. Look at our history. At each other's throats through the ages. Thousands of years, man. The same old crap keeps cropping up. And this love of money is so intricately and intimately involved in every facet of our civilization and what we do from the dawn till dusk. It's untenable. It's insufferable that this keeps. That's got to be what God sees. And the wars for profit. It just sickens me, man. And just the insidious nature of the grand puppeteers that are pulling our strings, getting us divided and telling us, oh, no, your problem is just locally. And no, it's grassroots are the solutions. Really? So you're going to come up with your own currency? No, it's in the money. It's through the currency debasement. That's what's causing all the problems on a local scale in your local community. This is all the strife, all the social, political, and economic strife and lack of cohesion okay, is caused by this. This is it, man. Go for the jugular, go for the root, put the axe to the root, man. And that's the Federal Reserve Bank. Trump, if he doesn't do this, man, I mean, I don't know what it's, I know it's going to take an act of God. If Trump gets anything done, it's because God allowed it. Okay, that's it. It was at the right point in history because remember, this is life and death. The Tower of Siloam. I mean, we're all going to end up perishing. We all know that, the good and the bad. I mean, the rain shines on the just and the unjust alike. What we've been through in this local area where I'm at is just beyond description. I mean, so many people perished, literally consumed by flames, trying to escape for their lives. This is what happened. This is a reality. God allows a lot of bad stuff, man, because he could stop it all. He could stop it all, but we've got crap to contend with. Okay, just the organic suffering from being in this fallen state, the original sin, the fall of man, and the ensuing curse of the earth. I mean, thorns on roses to predatory insects. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble, and we need God. Okay, so this is serious. I cannot overstate the serious nature, the imperative nature of getting it, being empowered, and getting ahead of these monsters that are manipulating us from on high in their ivory towers. They've got no escape plan. They don't know what the hell they're going to do. When the people finally get it, we go, we get your plan. We're not going for it, man. When the earth is populated to God's satisfaction, he'll pull the plug on our fertility. But we're not going to sit back and let you guys murder the vast majority of people under the pretense that it's to save the earth, because all of a sudden the people came empowered with the truth that this earth should be shared, that is God's will, whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew. It doesn't matter, an atheist, a Buddhist, a Hindu. It doesn't matter what you believe in, man. At least believe that the earth, we all have a right to share, right? Even an atheist can believe that, to share in the wealth of this nation, this planet. Okay, the nature's goodies, the resources, and labor is the single greatest resource that we can share in. It belongs to all of us. We all have a right to share in each other's labors. We depend upon each other. What would you have? What would I have if it wasn't for other people? I'd have bupkis. I could sit on a mountain of money. I could go out there and do my little job. I mean, with whatever tools I could make and try to scrape by and, barter for my meals and energy needs and whatever it was. But you understand, without other people, we'd have nothing. We all have a right to share in the most valuable asset. That's why I say all this accumulated wealth. Who built the Golden Gate Bridge? People talk about, what it's going to cost to rebuild the town of Paradise. Do they ever mention what it's going to cost in terms of man hours, woman hours? Do they ever discuss that? No. Money. Money is more important than the people, not according to Adam Smith in his book, The Wealth of Nations, right? And again, like usual, I'll show you which edition to buy. If you're going to get the book, get this one. Okay. Introduction by Alan B. Kruger. Listen, folks. Do you get the point I'm making here? All the jobs now, the insanity, the madness that we are just imbued with now, we're in a lot of trouble. We've stepped in it deep. Okay, the dog crap's up to our nostrils. These dubious wars, all about money, control and power and confusion, the muddied and bloodied waters of the New World Order, okay, the welfare industrial complex. Now, if you end desperate poverty, just send people checks directly. Well, hey, who cares if we're all out of work? If there's no work, if you've got prosperity, what do you care about a job? Do you think they want you to be empowered and figure that out? To understand, well, look, if we were all doing useful stuff, we'd be lucky to have work 2 or 3 hours a week. Do you understand? If everybody knew for sure that whatever they contributed to society, they were going to be successful at because they were successful from birth. So it was all about just gravitating toward their own godly instincts to not be a self-serving, decadent pissant, lazy slob, okay? And to say, well, the world was handed me on a silver platter from birth. So what Victor Hugo taught has no relevance anymore, since we're all born with great prosperity. there is no such thing as adversity unless you're going to create adversity yourself, and only an insane person would create adversity for themselves. The only reason he said that was you could understand the plight of the poor, and those that have been born and brought up with a lot of adversity in their lives turn out to be real men and women, while the others that had a pampered life from birth, that inherited hereditary wealth, they turned out to be monsters, a lot of them, not all of them, but generalizations are fair in the context of how you're using generalizations. So you understand how this would thwart all their evil plans of division? And that's what we want to do. We want to be free. What you're looking for is freedom. And the only path that we got to make sure we're prosperous, free from the money masters of misery through prosperity. Okay, so I know my stuff. I know what I'm talking about. And I just want to share it and convey it because it is imperative knowledge. And the more empowered everybody else is, the more free I am. The more hope there is, the more light at the end of the tunnel. The light keeps growing as God's wisdom keeps accumulating like a snowball effect. We've got the knowledge of the